Her fingers start to shrivel. Her face sinks in as she falls to the ground. As you flip her over, you hear this sound. You can start hearing almost an ancient voice, as if it was choking as it's starting to grow. As investigators, there are times we step into the strange, the eerie, and the unnatural. Those spaces where the ordinary world refuses to tread. As humans, we forget the world around us is a living thing. We harvest its resources as if the earth were lifeless, forgetting that this planet breathes and shifts beneath us. In our line of work, trusting our senses is as essential as the air we inhale. What we see, hear, and feel can make the difference between survival and slipping into the unknown. Do you trust your senses when you see a shadow from the corner of your eye, or do you toss it up to just your imagination? Assignment number 1A4-A, The Seed of Doubt. We start off with a camera over a city, where we hear the rumbling of the streets and the noise of the people moving about below. From out of the frame, we hear a cable car rolling along the tempered boulevard on the steel rails as the sun starts to descend. We watch as a gray-haired woman with a new mop in hand nod and smile as she thanks the driver as she steps off just after the car rumbles to a stop. Miss Pickett steps off the car, just like how she does every day, to go to work. She's dressed ready to work as she carries her new mop with her. She's stepping off the car, and we can watch the camera pull up to a bunch of buildings nearby. She goes up to a very rusted iron gate and opens it up. Number 145, as she's done this many times before. The creaking of that gate closes behind her and she starts to climb up the stairs. These stairs are pre-war, wooden. The place is illuminated with new installed wall lamps as we watch her go up the stairs to the 4th floor. She finally goes down the hallway and she walks up to an apartment number 4. After a double knock onto the door, she reaches into her pocket, pulls out some keys. An iron key, she unlocks the heavy wooden door and swings it open. She stopped, dead in her tracks, as you hear a gasp and the drop of her mop. There, sprawled out onto the century-old rug, a man lies broken. Blood stains the rug by his head, soaking in to his hair. His mouth gaped wide open, as if it were stuck in a scream. The old woman's lips purse tight as she clenches her chest, unsure what to do, something catches her eye as the camera focuses in on her face. We watch it zoom into her iris as a reflection is shown on her eye. We can spot a light color, pink. The camera then focuses more on what she can see, and a tiny pink flower can be seen from her iris, with thorned stems. We watch as the camera now shifts perspective and goes behind her. And we see the flower has been sprouted from the man's tongue, and the scene fades to black. The camera moves to a different scene now, as we watch the camera zoom into a different part of the city. The most verdant district in the city, Briar Green. Briar Green is surrounded by local hubs of academia, and in the center is a college, Briar Bank College, which attracts a young crowd to the area. The population of the school accounts for only a portion of the area's occupants. Briar Bank receives an enormous amount of money from the parents of the wealthy. Students who attend there make sure that they take archaeology and physics, as those departments are super well funded and well known in the North. Students of Briar Bank have the opportunity to incorporate actual archaeological digs of old fare into their education of a thrilling, though dangerous, way to gain first-hand experience. We watch the camera zoom straight into the halls of this college, and we watch it go through wall after wall after wall until it finally settles in to where 4 members of the Circle of the Lotus Bloom can be found, debriefing with one another. We watch as an elderly lady is speaking to the others. This is her study after all, so why not start there? Florence Mitchell. Describe yourself and what you look like tonight.
That'll be iffy to you, young man.
Oh, I apologize.
Please, all my friends call me that. Names among colleagues, yes? But tonight, after this most arduous adventure of ours, I'm wearing my usual suit dress, pressed white linens, a cozy sweater, stained with fluids now. But what is of more importance is to make sure that my prosthetic leg has not been damaged. Quite the pricey thing, carved from porcelain, stained with beautiful blue flowers. My hair is in a bit of disarray. The usual tight, matronly bun has unwound and my mousy hair flies down my shoulders. But I've years of wisdom behind it. This is not the first time I found myself in a situation, but now I can survive to tell the story and unwind, or rather, debrief with colleagues. I'll tap my cane and point over to a shelf. I have some pain assistance there. Help yourself, just read the label before you add any.
We watch the camera go up to this shelf as you're pointing to, and you can watch the camera jolt over to a younger lad, Felix Marquez.
Felix Marquez, standing at about 6'2", broad man, the type of man that has done manual labor just to be able to provide for himself, but there's a bit of a gleam of mischievousness behind his eyes. Brown hair, swept back, dark brown eyes. He's sun-kissed as he spends time outside trying to just survive. He's gone from place to place. A bit of a magician, a bit of a storyteller, a bit of a Sly Cooper, one would call him. But he's here, he's tall, and he wants to help. And he starts getting the ladder to pull the cabinet out, and he realizes, I'm the tallest one here. I don't need the stupid ladder. And he just reaches out to grab the medicines.
What do you do with this medicine? Do you pop it over for yourself, or do you hand it out to the rest of the crew?
Felix puts it down on the table and starts partitioning out. It's like, okay, this one says acetaminophen. This one's just Vicks. I'm gonna put that on the side. This one just says, do not drink before midnight. I don't know what most of these do, so I'm gonna find one that I recognize. I'm gonna pop the top. I'm gonna just grab a pill. I'm gonna make eyes with Effie the entire time as I'm taking it to make sure this is one of the ones that I can take. I'm just like,
Her eyes are a similar dark hue, and despite her sickly pallor, she nods.
one of the person just dry heaves it.
Felix, you're supposed to take that with water. Let me. And I reach under my desk.
I got
pull out
saliva.
some
It's the same
crystal.
thing. Es lo mismo. It's all right. You know,
I reach under my desk and pull out some crystal, shot of whiskey, hand it to him. Drink.
Well, that's the type of water that I like. Órale, pues. So he settles into his chair and he starts doing the thing that he does every time that he's waiting for new instructions. He sits with his coin, flips it, heads, counts it, flips it, tails, and he keeps going. He's gone up to 102 before.
Perfect. We watch as these two, Florence and Felix, are both talking to each other, but on the opposite side of the room, a different conversation is occurring between Deacon and Flor. What conversation are you guys having across the room?
It would be normal protocol to share your notes with the rest of the class.
She said with a little bit of a smirk on her face. Deacon was unsure on what she meant, but he was wanting to be helpful regardless.
Fleur takes a moment, takes a big deep breath. Her eyes glance across the room, her dark brown eyes glance across the room at the sound of the crystal decanter coming out, and she realizes that she's sat on the wrong corner of the room to begin with. And she makes eye contact with Effie. I'm just kind of like,
I pour you 2 fingers.
she accepts the 2 fingers and goes back. Mr. Campbell, you've been writing down everything in the journal. She says not needing him to add anything else to it. She verbalizes that out loud, having heard the way that he narrates through it, and would like to know if you would be interested in either making a copy or allowing me to make a copy. It will simply make this much easier to do.
I can make a copy for you.
Good. That would be nice.
Deacon
Particularly
said,
if are you any good at drawing?
I can paint pictures with words, not with brushes, Deacon said, insecure in his feeling.
What does Deacon look like?
Deacon Campbell is a man in his 40s. His eyes are sunken in a little bit. His hair is kept tied back with a loose red ribbon, and it's clear that it has not been retied in some time as strands have sort of fallen out. He has an unkept beard and a look that says that he is a storyteller in some way, shape, or form. His clothes look like they haven't been changed or cleaned in a few days, as he pretty much always has his book and his pen he is always writing. He must always be writing.
And as the camera looks up and down at Deacon, it shifts slightly to Fleur. What does Fleur look like?
Fleur is of a similar age to Effie. They were classmates at one point in time. She's also at this point not considered a young woman anymore, but in this almost reflective of the pallor that Effie has, Fleur's skin has a lot of color to it, with sunspots on her hands and her cheeks and on the opening of her shirt along her collarbones. She has her dark hair has a few streaks of silver that have been running through it, almost as if the sun seems to have taken that from there as well. The time has weathered her, and her work has as well. Her expression and her countenance is serious to the extent of she does not suffer fools, and she doesn't see many fools among her. She tries to find amusement, for example, with Mr. Mitchell. She has picked up on his idiosyncrasies, but she's very direct about a number of things. And you
Mr.
can
Mitchell, I hope he's not my own.
Oh, I mean, Mr. De Campbell. Yes.
Shrimp or chicken noodle soup.
Yeah, the Campbell. See, my bad. He seems very scholarly somewhere along the line. Who knows? But yeah, so she's, her clothing is also just as weathered. Nice clothing, the kind that kind of holds up over time, as opposed to being of the finer materials. She keeps the tie around her neck rather loose. And as she's been sitting back where Mr. Campbell is, she has had her feet propped up on the nearest thing nearby, whether it's a coffee table or ottoman.
As you all are in this room discussing your last assignment amongst each other and indulging in well-earned festivities, you could hear from down the hall some footsteps come closer to your door. Effie, you recognize these footsteps before, as there is a cane associated with them. You could tell that it's someone from the group, from Candela. And as you're about to hear him knock, he stops at the door. You hear a sigh, and then you hear the door unlock. The camera looks upon a young yet energetic Kaz, your lightkeeper. He is 6 foot in stature. He wears a vest, carries around a cane, well-dressed shoes, and there's a scar over his left eye. He looks into the room. Oh, I see all of you are here today. Thank goodness you've made it back.
Yes, Cass, certainly. Invite yourself in. Have some of my decanter while you're here.
Oh, just a little sip wouldn't hurt, right? And he walks over to the decanter and it's open the good stuff that you hide underneath the cabinet. I'll take some of these.
He said confidently, knowing the insult behind it.
So, how did it all go down, group? Your last assignment, I think.
Effie's expression looks strained, but she reaches into her leather doctor's bag and pulls out a little bottle filled with formaldehyde. The scent invades the room and presents what looks like a human finger. Scales, a claw.
A great success, I see. Go ahead and put that down. I don't want to touch it. I'll grab somebody to come pick it up for you.
Thank you.
Yes. And he looks over to the group at Felix. How are you liking it, Felix? This is what, number 4 for you?
Felix he's got his feet up on one of the tables, a habit that Effie scolds him for often. He's got little nips on his shin from where she's tapped him with her cane multiple times. This is okay, number 3, maybe 4 at this point in time. I don't remember very well. Kind of leans back on this chair, rocking a little bit. Pero it's all right. It's going fine so far. All I gotta say is, mira, I broke a mirror and the spooky thing disappeared. So as far as I'm aware, Felix 1, smoking mirror 0.
I see, skeptic as usual. That is good. It's good for our line of work. Deacon, stop writing for a second. I'm sure I will read your dissertation later, but how are you doing, Deacon?
Fine. Fine would be the operative word, I believe.
Floor, you still haven't smacked him.
Multiple times. It's not that effective. I've tried it several different ways. Back of the head, shoulder, knee. We'll keep working on it.
That's fine. As much as I'd like to sit here and talk to all of you, there is something pressing that has come to my attention. And he pulls out a letter. And he presents it. Who grabs the letter?
Floor.
Weirdly enough, I think, well,
No. Deacon.
Deacon would like snatch it.
Okay. He presents the letter, and inside the letter, you open it up.
Candela Obscura agent has been killed in his flat in Seidel, 145 Temper Boulevard, number 4. Please investigate, don't dawdle. The longer you take, the higher likelihood the periphery mucks up the crime scene. He sets the letter down and then goes right back to his journal. The letter was chilling and the temperature of the room shifted.
Anyone else takes a look at the letter?
Floor would take it from Deacon afterwards and walk over to Effie's side, because that is where Effie is, and is also where the drink that she has not had a chance to grab is as well. She would lean over so that Effie would be able to have a clear view as she takes a sip of her drink.
Thank you, dear. And I lean forward on my cane and look at it, looking for a particular seal, a confirmation.
It is got the seal for Candela Obscura on the top. It does print as your assignment letter normally does. Everything is normal here. What's not normal is seeing a Candela agent being taken out. You can see that Kaz's face is a little worried looking at the 4 of you.
I think Felix, hearing that a fellow Candela agent has been taken out during this, sits all four legs of the chair down and kind of leans forward, leaning on his elbows, on his knees. So I'm curious, and Kaz, you might know or you might not know in this regard, but are we thinking that this was targeted, or was it just circumstantial?
An assassination.
That I'm not sure of. But that is why I need the 4 of you to look into it. You are my trusted.
I just lean back in my chair and groan. Yes. Darling, I am going to be 63 this winter.
Still young and spry.
But you can agree I'm no spring chicken. We just raided a village full of fishmen and ghosts. But this needs to be investigated urgently, I take it. No waiting for funeral invitations.
No. You must go immediately before the periphery makes a muck and a mess of it. You all know how the periphery is. For those who don't know and are listening in, the periphery is an agency within the world of Candela Obscura that deals within the supernatural, but could be seen as an agency that works not very well with others, and it's mostly made up of government officials. So this is their way of covering it up, but they don't deal with it very well as much as Candela Obscura is trained to deal with it. So they can be seen as opposing agencies, and they do know of the existence of each other. But beyond that, no one really knows of Candela Obscura.
Floor takes a moment where she lifts the drink to her lips, heavily sighs, and sets it back down on the table, and just starts to roll her shoulders. That was going to be her pain management, but she rubs her hands together. Well, no rest for the wicked, they say, right?
Unfortunately not, señorita.
She extends a hand to Effie to offer to help her to her feet.
She takes it gratefully and straightens herself up, finishes the last of that whiskey, and looks Kaz right in the eye. Address?
It's right on the letter.
So, 145 Temper Boulevard, it's apartment number 4.
Yes,
Thank you, Deacon dear.
that's in the city. That's a little bit of a ride from here, so my suggestion is to get on it.
Oh, of course. That old rickety tram station. My bones will thank me. You wouldn't happen to have a key, would you? I doubt we can masquerade as family.
I do not, but I'm sure you can be creative.
Felix, you already know I'm looking at you. I've already raised an eyebrow.
Felix was already halfway to putting on a fake beard, like...
Yes, as you can tell. And we'll watch as the camera settles in on the 5 agents and investigators talking together, and the camera starts to pull out of the building through the walls once again as it watches the 4 of you leave the college. Who's driving?
I think Felix would be the driver, personally.
Awesome.
Being a little bit more spry and having slightly better reflexes.
The year is 1917. Cars, automobiles, and electricity are a thing, so we are looking at the new age moving forward after the war, and we watch as the car pulls away safely and pulls up to a new location. The car is being followed by the camera overhead. And we watch as Felix, you start to drive and pull up to this location as it slowly comes to a halt. You've pulled up to the district called the Citadel. Citadel is home to New Fair's sprawling middle class. Electric lights illuminate the streets, which bustle with activity, even late at night. Temper Boulevard is one of the larger thoroughfares running through the district, wide enough for rumbling cars and a cable car line to go through. This area of the city was nearest to the fighting of the last Great War in Westwick, but post-war, post-victory, it was revitalized into the modern residential landscape it's known today. You can see newer construction happening across the streets with unfinished homes,
but also a beautiful layout of post-war construction happening. Most of the architecture is built with modernizing art, but still pays homage to the old, with the statues on the home, on the top of the roofs. The car you guys rode in, does come to a halt finally. It's in front of 145 Temper Boulevard. The camera scans the building from bottom to top, and we watch as it lingers over a looming stone gargoyle. Beautiful, intricate, and the rusted iron gates that we saw earlier. Who's going in first?
I believe Felix was the one going in first. I felt everybody turn. I was like, all right, well, I think Felix is always the kind of the scout, because he's a little bit more prone to talking his way out of things. But pulls the car over, kind of arm around the seat, looks at everybody's like, it's going to be me again, isn't it?
You're affable, darling.
Of
We
course,
have to
yeah.
send you in.
He finishes plastering a fake beard on, hoops around the ears, tusses his hair a little bit, puts on some fake spectacles. He's like, alrighty, let's see if I can pretend to be a hello. Give me a second, hold on. Hi there, good evening. My name is, there we go, that's the voice I want to go with. All right.
As you guys enter in through the gates, we hear the gates once again open in creaks as you walk through. We hear the stairs being walked up by the four of you, and you finally get to the floor that you need to be. Once you get to that fourth floor, you do notice from across the hall some signs that mark "Do Not Cross," markings of a crime scene. Within the dated but well-appointed flat, you can see two people inside as you guys peek through the door. The door is wide open, so there's no need to try to enter in, but there is obviously some signs that are trying to prevent you from walking through. You do see the camera pause in front of one of them, and the name flashed to the side. Jun Cho. He is a periphery officer. And then there seems to be another person that all of you are familiar with. Their name is Denby. They're the coroner. You've seen them before working on many other assignments, and you recognize the both of them. What would you guys like to do?
We recognize them. Would they recognize us?
The periphery officer you do not recognize, the coroner you do.
Okay, but would they recognize us?
As far as your Candela pins, they would recognize right off the bat, yes.
Okay. But they don't know us by face.
Denby would.
Okay. Boy, oh boy. Alrighty. Do we want to do Fox and the Hound? I could make them chase me. That's a pretty common one. Could loop back around.
Might put on all that effort of putting the beard. Why don't we go with interested family trying to sort out the estate?
Oh, we should probably take our pins off. Puts it on the inside instead. I'm like, all right. Ooh. All right, I know how we're gonna do this one. We can do interested family. I am family lawyer, and we're trying to get our estate in affair. He's gonna go up to the doorway. He's gonna knock lightly on it. Be like, right, excuse me, gents. Could I have a word with you?
So I don't want to talk to people right now. Can you go see what is going on in there? As the coroner tells Jun Cho to go and deal with all of you. He walks up. Periphery officer, you can tell from, he's about 5'5", 5'6". He walks up to all four of you It is an investigation going on. You do not need to be here.
You're right, we understand that, but see, these are the family members of the deceased, and they are here just to make sure that they've got all the aforementioned deceased's belongings. Of course, we're trying to do last rites and everything, and per law, they are privy to that, so if we could just take a quick peek, grab anything that might have been left behind, we'd be out of your hair in a minute.
You can see June kind of scratching their head, trying to figure out if you're lying or not. Doesn't seem very convinced. Does anyone else want to try something? And what we're going to do here is the first roll of the night, which is going to be a sway roll. But we're gonna have Felix do it. But there can be assistance in this sway roll to see what you're going.
Everyone loves grandmothers, and I feel like this is an act that Felix and I have done before, the aspiring young lawyer and the bereaved grandmother, so I shrink in on myself and lean right next to his side and squint my eyes. Oh, please. I just want to look at my dear boy's face one more time.
What was your name, madam?
Riviera Beauregard. I've taken my maiden name in these old days, and my eye is so good to see the young people, and I reached out and I pinched June's cheek.
Okay. Ma'am, that hurt a little bit.
I don't know my strength and my age, but if you could just let us by, I would be so grateful.
Go ahead and take a drive there, Felix, and Effie, go ahead and take a drive away.
Oh, that's cool.
And now, Felix, you're going to be able to roll for a sway roll with an additional d6 die. What did you roll?
I've rolled, if I'm reading this correctly, if I take a gilded action,
Yes.
would Effie receive their drive back?
No. It's on your drive.
Okay. I got a 3.
A 3. Okay. So, it is not success. So, what happens now? Okay. I would say this is a medium stakes roll, so I would burn the resistance if you have it.
I'm gonna burn my resistance.
For those of you who are listening in, a resistance is the opportunity to re-roll. You only get one of those in this particular game.
And that is a 6.
Okay, perfect. So you do get a 6 from the resistance there, and we are going to go ahead and play this out. So as you see the Juncho with the pinched cheeks so hard, he was just so hard. He's just annoyed the fact that you touched his face. So he's gonna kind of back off and say, fine. You got 5 minutes to go in there. I gotta go take a leak anyways. So when I get back, y'all need to leave.
Right, of course, no, appreciate it. Thank you very much, kind sir. We'll be out of your head, lickety split. Right, come on, family.
Okay, and you watch as June leaves to go do their own business, and you are left now inside with the coroner. And what you can see is pretty obvious. You can see that the person in front of you has been hit with a blunt object to the head. You can see that a pink flower is protruding from the mouth with a thorny stem. And it's basically on the victim's tongue. So you can tell that the victim has a flower growing from their tongue. There are some other pieces of information and things you can do here. So, what do you guys all choose to do?
Really quickly, I don't want to be hindered by the coroner being in here.
Sure.
So I'm going to use one of my abilities, the Prestige.
Okay.
And I'm going to roll for sense. If I get a success on it, I do take a bleed mark. but I'm going to use it to throw my voice and make it sound like the guy who just went downstairs and call for the coroner so that they'll go back down there.
Okay. Is there anyone else who would like to try to speak to the coroner before this happens, or you're just going to let it happen?
Bureaucracy. The more in the way, the less.
Deacon actually will approach the coroner.
And I think I would whisper to you guys what I'm planning to do before I did it to give.
Sure.
Evening.
What?
Sorry, didn't mean to frighten you.
Where's June?
Stepped out to use the facilities.
And who are you?
I am a family member to the deceased. We're here to recover some of their personal belongings. The body, was this how it was discovered?
Yes. The body was, let me look through my notes, and you see him pull out a notebook and just kind of flip through it. At this particular moment in time, you can see, if you peer over the shoulder, the camera looks over his shoulder, and you can see that it states the time that the body was found was this afternoon. Yes, it was found this afternoon by someone else, and we were called in to take care of this body.
Were there any signs of a struggle or a melee or violence?
Well, yes, and he looks at the head, and you can see him turn the body with his gloves on and just point towards the back of the head. You can see there's an indentation very deep into the skull where there's blood coagulating now, as it's been a couple hours since the blood has been moved. You see, and he pokes his finger into it, and he shows you a little bit of it on his finger.
He just gently, kind of awkwardly places his hand on theirs to lower that hand.
Fleur steps behind where Campbell is and just kind of has a moment of that's enough. Did you find anything in here that actually could have caused this?
I'm not the right person to talk to about this, but there was somebody who found him earlier. You can see he's a little flustered because he doesn't do well with people. So he's a coroner. He just deals with dead bodies all the time. So he's not very good with people. However,
okay with taking advantage of that.
Okay. How would you like to?
Bodies.
Fleur, and just through her stance and the way that she's standing in the Deacon takes the polite approaching way. Fleur is taking a very direct way. So, are you thinking vase? Are you thinking a mallet? Do you have any idea how to do your job?
First of all, I am an expert, and you see him rant for about 10 to 15 minutes about his professions and credentials of how he got them at Briarbank College.
While he's doing that, Fleur's kind of meandering around the room and is also going to kind of take a look to see are there any objects that would be doing this.
Sure. Go ahead and
intimidatingly.
Go ahead and do a focus roll for me. Does anyone else want to take a look around?
As Fleur has drawn the coroner's attention, Deacon is going to approach the body specifically and focus on the flower. I'm going to see if I can't do a sense roll to see if I can sort of glean any magical resonance from this flower.
Okay, so what you will see is this. You see the cores, there's some notes. And again, I need you all to, for those who are trying to investigate, to roll a focus roll. So go ahead and roll that focus roll for me, Fleur.
And I would like to add a drive to that.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. I have a 6.
Perfect. So that is a success. As you are focusing around the room, you notice that there seems to be some bloodstains on the carpet. That's obviously there from the body. You can also notice that there is something that catches your eye on the shelves, right? There are several alchemy books on the shelves written by Anastasia Petrov, okay? Anastasia is an alchemist, and you know this because you guys go to the college. The alchemist is that rose to fame just prior to the Old Fair, and is often thought of having conducted reckless experiments during their time. In addition, an aged book is closed on the desk, and you can see this for those who are walking around the room. You can see the book that lies closed, and it has an arcane symbol burnt into the leather cover.
Does it seem as though that's a recent burn, or does it seem
No.
as if it was part of the publishing?
It's part of the book. It has been there. Great question. For you, Effie, if you take a look around and take a look at the book, you'll notice that the symbol denotes that the tome is dedicated to ancient herbology. And the book, if you guys decide to open the book, there may be something else that happens.
Absolutely, I am opening this book.
Perfect.
It saves me a species identification. You know, Flora is handling the coroner, Deacon is being Deacon, and I just pick it up, begin to look through.
As you do that, you can hear, and only you, Effie, can hear the whisper of a female voice being heard reading the text. And you can hear the text is pink flower, thorny stem, fracture at the back of the head, blow from blunt instrument. You can see that a treatise on the healing properties of magical plants. Tucked in back inside the cover is a sheet. More recent notes including research done at the location described as GA. You know this as being as groundswell arboretum. If you hold on to this book for too long, you start to feel heat coming from it.
As I'm looking at this, referencing maps, where I've taken my students, my hands start to burn. I just drop it with a...
As you do that, the book drops, and out slides an envelope. The envelope has an address on it, which I will show you what it looks like.
Apologies, I thought I saw a mouse in the walls. And I do the old lady thing where I bend to the ground and sweep it under my skirt and grab the letter.
You notice that the letter says Ivan Petrov, 55 Reservation Road, The Citadel, New Fair. You being a resident of New Fair for such a long time, you know that that's only a few blocks away.
I am going to walk towards Felix and very casually slide this letter into his hand and give him a knowing look.
Felix does his little sleight of hand. He goes to stretch to pocket it into his inner coat pocket and continues to walk around, none the wiser to anybody else.
Do you open it, Felix, or do you keep it closed?
I think for now, Felix is going to keep it closed until we're in a place where we can open it without prying eyes.
Sure. So, is there anything else that you guys want to do? The coroner is still speaking, and you can hear him going, I have gotten my doctorate at Greenbrier College, and I have many accolades. How dare you?
God, it's like Deacon, but on volume 10. Jesus.
Deacon is going to tune out the voice of the coroner, and he's going to focus on that flower, see if he can sense anything off of it.
Go ahead and roll for me.
Okay. That is a 5.
Okay, so what you can sense is this is an old flower. It is not something that has been seen in a very long time. How it got into the body is unknown, but what you do sense is that there is magic in it. There is some bleed, and for that you will take a bleed mark.
Okay. Okay. Deacon is going to physically react a little, get a little jittery, and he is going to quickly flip through the pages of his journal to see that some of the words that he had written are now gone. Thank you. Okay. He is going to then take his time to write as many details about this flower as he can. Anything.
Sure.
He's going to be as nitty-gritty as he can before he eventually sort of stands still a little flustered.
So what you do, and it's almost magic-like, what you see, if anyone peeks over Deacon's shoulders at this time, is the page that is flipped open from the book that Effie was holding. You can see the exact same image now being imprinted as if it came out of thin air onto Deacon's journal.
Just to make sure our lovely coroner friend doesn't see that, like I'm getting up, I pass the letter successfully. I see, like, I hear a page flip. I look at Deacon, I look at the book, kick it under a desk. Well, I'm feeling a bit of the vapors, my apologies. I am going to go outside and catch an air. I'll be waiting in the car. Toodaloo, Mr. What was it? I didn't catch your name, dear.
Who, me?
Yes, you know.
Danby.
My grand.
Danby.
Danby. I must say, I must thank you for your most scholarly behavior. All of my relatives here have gained quite a bit from listening to you. Isn't that right, everyone?
Yes, we have.
Mm-hmm. Felix, as everyone is hanging out around this room, and they start this investigation, this is prior to the whole book being kicked in underneath tables, you do notice something at the front door. I'm not going to make you roll for this, but you do notice something strange. When you look at the sides of the door, you notice there's no forced entry. You also notice around the room there are several expensive art pieces still hanging up on the wall.
Flor, are you trying to do something?
I keep thinking about it. Flor, in her looking about as well, with this Candela agent having fallen, at some point in it would have tried to get his pin. And also, if around any of the desks, anything else that was evidence of Candela.
There's no reference of Candela per se, but something curious catches your eye, Flor. You notice that near the edge of one of the tables and close to the rug, there are signs of mud you know for a fact it hasn't rained in quite a long time.
Can I see if there are any boots that this person would have had? Just in a cursory glance?
Yep. As you look around the room, there are no signs of boot marks. However, there are signs of just small little prints of mud. And it's still wet.
Would I know, having been someone who has gone through Old Fair and various things, would I know if this is something that would be evidence of?
Oh, absolutely. You know for a fact that this is out of the norm. This is not something you could see every day, because there are no plants inside this room. You do notice that. You do notice that there's no pots. So this is just soil.
Could I sense the mud?
Sense the mud. In what way?
Almost in like a psychometry sort of way, in a way to see the when or the what happening, like what happened to get this here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like, how long has it been there? I'm not a expert.
Sure, yeah. You're not going to need to roll for that. That's kind of obvious because of your background in history. You're an archaeologist. You went to school, right? And as far as you're concerned, you and Effie have been longtime classmates, and you've known each other for quite a while. You know from your exploration that this mud has been here for not very long. It's been here for only a couple hours. It is starting to dry up on the edges, but the dents of it, the center of it, is still moist and is still wet. You do know that it hasn't rained in over 2 weeks. So the fact that there is mud inside a flat, that there is no rain, is something to note.
She notes that, and there doesn't seem to be any damage to anything else, right? Like,
No.
there were no vases that were being used to bash this guy over the head.
No.
See, that's where Flora is thinking, because this is either someone who came in that did this, or something else.
Would you like to communicate that to the rest of the group, or would you like to hold on to that piece of information?
I think I will communicate it with them once we're in the car. So once that sort of happens, she makes like a swirl of her finger. It's time to go. Well, we should go check on Grandmama.
Okay. As you guys are exiting, you can see from down the hall, June Choi going, "I told you I wanted y'all to leave 5 minutes ago," and he starts walking at a very rapid pace down the hall.
Before we leave and make our exit, I want to turn to the coroner and just be like, right, well, you've been a phenomenal gent. I appreciate all that you've done. Thank you for taking care of the body. And as I'm talking and trying to fast talk, I'm pacing around the room and I'm grabbing things of importance, like the book that got kicked under the desk, and I'm shoving it into my pouch. I'm grabbing, trying to grab the pin. If I can grab the flower, I actually want to try to take the flower as well. But I'm hoping I can do a sleight of hand roll. I mean, just walking around and just kind of pursing these little objects: the book, the flower, and the pin that he would have found, unless Flora already got the pin.
I would say at this point in time, it would be difficult just because the coroner is already zipping up the body. So
Then I will settle for at least the book.
The book you could definitely take, but he's zipping up the body at this point, so he's like kind of wrapping things up, trying to put things to go.
Could I just real quick note or question about the flower, because I know that Felix was going to look to grab it.
Sure.
See the roots go.
Thank you.
Down
His throat. You would have to get rather close for that. I don't think you would have been able to with the corner there. However, you do note that the flower is attached to the tongue. So how far down, we don't know. We just know it's there.
Then
It looks less like it was placed and more like it grew.
Correct.
Okay.
as Felix like is meandering about and maybe showing interest in taking the flower, Deacon just
Okay.
Still talking. The last thing I grab as I say, right, well, appreciate all your help, is a little pen holder that's on the desk, and I just dump the pens into my briefcase, put the pen holder back. I appreciate all your work. Thank you kindly. Good day. And I start walking out the hallway.
Sure. As you guys are walking down the hallway, you guys open the door and the creaking of the metal gate closes behind you, and you're standing now outside. It is dark, so it is nighttime. The streets seem a little bit slower. So you can hear cars obviously passing by, but there's no one around you at this particular moment in time. This would be a good moment for all of you to debrief on your findings.
I'm gonna get everybody piled into the car, and I'm gonna drive us like a block away so that we're not, we don't shit where we eat.
Sure.
Necessarily. I just want to get us a little safe distance. And I'll pull into like an alleyway.
Sure.
And just turn and be like, "What up, pues? Listen, that was uncomfortable. That guy talks a lot, and I thought, Deacon, I love you, man. I thought you talked a lot. You're a fucking saint compared to Jabberjaw over there. Also, hey, I open up my briefcase and I get a handful of pens. I'm like, I got you something. There you go. I don't know if you run out of ink or
he just snatches them. Thank you. And he starts to catch up as the entire time, other than looking at the flower, Deacon was not writing. So he is feverishly like flipping through pages to catch up on everything that's happened.
I never know if I should pet him or not. It's, God.
That aside, boys, are we going to talk about how thin the veil was in that room? It was like a whore's wedding night. It was practically non-existent.
Question for our storyteller.
Sure.
In my gear, I did include that there was a ward.
Sure.
I could soak one bleed.
Sure.
Would that have come into play when that bleed came through from examining?
You can definitely use your word right now. I'm not going to advise you to do so. However, this is the beginning of the investigation. You don't know what else may come down, so it's up to you on what you would like to do.
That's fair. I will take that.
I take out the book that Effie kicked, and I'm going to put it kind of on the whatever semblance of a Psycom, so we have one.
Sure.
On the cushion, right?
Sure.
Right. When you kick this over, like under a desk, I found it. I also found a piece of gum, but that's here and up there. And I do now take out the letter.
Okay.
And I kind of flash at everybody. Are we reading this now?
It looked to be an address. It'll be our secondary location, presumably a member of his circle, or maybe even just a trusted colleague.
All you gotta say, I knife the edge. Then I open it, take the letter out.
Okay. The letter is in. I will read it out loud for you. Ivan, the strangest thing happened to me today. A woman approached me on the street and asked if I was Boris Petrov, if I knew who Anastasia Petrov was. When I said I did and asked her who she was, I got a dread feeling from her, like I sometimes do. Pure animosity. She then asked if you were my brother. At that, I refused to answer. Any more questioning and demanded to know who she was, at which she pointed out. As she turned and walked away. Look after yourself. Lock your doors. Boris.
Okay, so this person thinks that they were being targeted by this woman. Maybe.
Can't say I'm surprised. The area was suffused with her essence. Perhaps I'm losing my touch, but I could have sworn I heard her speaking to me.
Well, there were numerous book titles of hers in the room as well.
An admirer.
Indeed, one of the books had this sort of ancient herbology symbol on it. That was that one. Did you see the one that had the burn mark on it?
I did, yes, and it burned me when I held it for too long.
Oh.
Startled half the room.
Yeah, that's the one that I put right between you and
At this, you do notice and come to the conclusion that the victim who you saw was Ivan Petrov.
Okay, so this is... okay, so Ivan Petrov...
I'm sorry, Boris Petrov.
Okay, that
Boris,
makes sense now.
sorry, Boris Petrov.
So Boris Petrov, knocked on the back of the head, flower out the mouth, locked in a room, lady perhaps hunting them down, maybe a lady in white, a banshee, I don't know.
Something was
If
nice.
she and animosity towards Boris, we should go to Ivan to check if he's all right.
Positively.
This address.
Yes.
You do notice it's only 1 block away.
I don't. I just put the car in neutral and I just let it roll down the hill.
Gotta save on gas.
It's expensive right now.
Petrol is expensive.
Yeah.
It's a nickel a gallon.
Yes, as you guys
Neighbors died for this gas.
notice, you pull up to 55 Reservation Road. You do notice it's one of the newly reconstructed manor houses that pervade in the citadel, with electric lights illuminating this 2-story home. And the grounds are very manicured. From the street, nothing appears amiss. What do you decide to do?
Are there lights on the house?
From the street, you can tell that certain lights are inside the house, yes.
From our perspective here, does it seem as though for an estate like this, for a manor home like this, does it seem if there's some security or anybody else out up on the grounds?
No.
Closed gate neighborhood? Or should we not be here?
Nope. You definitely... Nothing really seems out of place. Everything seems normal. Actually, the place that you just left in was a little bit more ominous than this. This place kind of just looks like a normal home on the street.
Is there a car in the driveway?
There is a car in the driveway.
Well, let's go see who's home.
Now, I will say you have 3 choices here. You can go quickly and stealthily. You can go quickly but not stealthily. Or you can take your time.
Before we decide, there's one thing I'd like to do, and I should have done this when I took that bleed, and I apologize. I keep talking about that one time I took the bleed.
Sure.
I have an ability called Let Them In.
Sure.
Whenever you take 1 or more bleed marks, you also gain additional information about the phenomenon that harmed you. The GM 1 question about the source of the bleed.
I would say you already did when we were there. I gave you the information you needed, which was saying that the flower was ancient and hasn't been seen before.
Understood. Thank you.
Yeah. Right, okay, so are we doing... do we want to go through the front door and I can be like, hey, I'm here as your... Gotta be a lawyer again? I stole some papers so I can make it kind of look legit this time, or... We want to go in through the back door?
Do we think that Ivan knows about Candela?
You're currently on a timer. It is going down from 6 and going to 5 now.
Is that minutes or seconds?
No, just my timer.
Oh, I don't like that.
He was comfortable enough to write to him, so presumably he's a friend. So we can knock, we can ask, and worst, I can use a bit of hydrochloric acid to melt the locks.
I'm putting on a brass knuckle. Oh, right, yeah, that's an option too.
I say if his life is in danger, we should go quickly.
Timer is down to 4.
I agree. We should go quickly, and if he does seem targeted in some way.
All right, quickly, front door, back door.
Front. Let's knock.
Front.
Door.
Let's knock.
Knocking on the front door.
As you approach the building and you're about to knock, you can hear the door creak open by itself. And as you do so, you can see someone in the back. You can see a person dragging a body. But you can't really tell. You hear a thud as they walk towards the door. You can see as they get closer, Officer Jensen. I will show you a picture of Officer Jensen. As Officer Jensen approaches, is there anything you'd like to say before they say anything?
Is Officer Jensen is the one who is dragging the body?
You think? You can't really tell. It was too far.
It's not to break kayfabe here very quickly, but like one person was getting dragged and one person was walking, so I can
Only assume. As Officer Jensen gets closer, your timer goes down to 2.
Oh, there's more?
There's more timing.
I thought the timer was just for the
No, I thought it was for the door. Yeah, we're here. Oh gosh, I don't need to be the one talking. Like, she starts speaking.
What are you doing here? As she approaches.
We're visiting.
We received a letter that somebody might be in danger here, and we were coming to prevent any catastrophe from happening.
Felix does that thing where he turns his whole body to look at Deacon, like, bruh. Why are we just giving the whole game plan right off the bat?
I don't know what you're talking about. I need you to leave.
Right, actually, we are the law firm.
I don't care who you are. I need you to go.
Floor's going to take off towards the body? Question mark.
As you take off, she's gonna swing.
Okay, let's do this.
She's going to swing for a strike roll. She hits.
Ow.
You can tell as she pulls out her baton. As you pass by her, she swings towards the back of your head, trying to stop you from moving forward. As she does so, you take 2 body.
Oh.
Damn.
Is there any way for me to contest that with either a dodge roll or a move roll?
Absolutely. Go for
I
it.
would love to try to contest that either with a dodge or to try to...
Absolutely. Go for
Can
it.
I assist?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Smoke bomb.
I think having been in the front as usually the face, seeing you run past me and them swinging, I would have just dry cocked them in the ribs with a brass knucks to try to, like, not hurt them, but at the very least get them to miss you. I don't think I had enough time to pull back.
Sure. Go ahead and add a drive. Take away a drive, Felix.
So I add a drive to mine?
Yep, you add 1d6 to your roll.
Okay.
And this is for nerve, I imagine.
Yes.
Okay, so I will roll this.
Oh, let me down.
I'll take... It's a 5.
Sure. It's a mixed success. You do get hit. You take 1 body instead of 2. But you do get to miss some of the full force from Officer Jensen. You do not need to be back there, she yells. The investigation is still ongoing. I moved the body away from the front door.
I hold up the letter and I hold it in her face and just say, "We found this on another body and we are here to help, and I would like to try to sway."
Okay. Go ahead and roll sway for me.
Can I use a drive?
You can.
I will do that.
How many drive
floors
points
on
do you
the
have?
ground. Like,
I only have 2 in cunning.
If I can help again, I would like to use it because I have 3, so I don't mind burning 1, especially if you're limited on resources like that. If I can.
Sure. I'm gonna actually say, Effie, what are you doing right now?
I'm going to floor because that is a broken rib and it needs to be at least checked.
Okay. So as all of this is going on, go ahead, Felix, give a drive. Deacon, go ahead and add a d6 to roll. And this is how the scene's gonna play out. Officer Jensen is going to swing, hits Floor on the ribs. Effie, at that moment, you run towards her direction. Deacon, you get into Officer Jensen's face. Felix, you're assisting. As you shove this piece of paper in her face, you can see that Officer Jensen is starting to cough.
I would like to use a resistance, given that I rolled a 1.
It's a low stakes roll, so I would say you can use a resistance, but I wouldn't say to use it in this situation.
Okay. If that is the case, then if anything, he'll like lower the letter and just sort of peer at her as she starts to cough.
How close are you?
I assume right in front of her.
Okay. Good to know. You can see that she's starting to cough more and more. She's starting to struggle. You peer down, Deacon, at her baton. Dry blood is seen on that baton.
Officer, who did you strike with that baton?
It's none of your business!
Christ, that swine! And I just get off the floor from Florence and go behind her and start giving her the Heimlich. Because I'm presuming that she has begun choking on her own drool.
She's not choking. She's coughing.
Still, I'm going to see maybe... I'll give her a rough pat on the back. Officer?
And you can see, as you are patting her on the back, her skin starts to harden. Her fingers start to shrivel. Her face sinks in as she falls to the ground.
It's that cardiac arrest. My first thought, even as like this very unnatural movement is occurring, it might be this flower. It could be causing cardiac arrest. I'm going to flip her over if she's fallen on her face.
Okay. As you flip her over, you hear this sound. As a small wilt can be seen reaching over either side of the mouth and pulls itself out of her mouth. It is only about 3 to 4 inches tall. Your timer's down to 1. What do you decide to do?
I'm hitting it with my cane.
Okay. Go ahead and roll a strike roll for me.
Oh boy. This is gonna be so fine. I only got 1 die here. It'll be okay. Like? That's a 1.
It is a high stakes roll.
Oh. I will absolutely burn resistance.
Okay. Go ahead.
we're still standing nearby, right?
Yes.
I would like to...
You can offer assistance.
I'm going to offer assistance first. I'm going to do that. Floor starts at first looking back towards where Jensen was coming from, but then seeing this thing, looks to the guys and goes, something must be going on back there, before diving to try and help Effie with whatever this thing is.
Okay. What's your result, Effie?
3.
Okay. Anyone else wants to try to do something?
I think Deacon kind of like loses himself a little bit as he stares at this thing crawling out of the officer's mouth. And I would like to speak their language, which is another ability. You can speak the supernatural language of any phenomenon you encounter. Describe what strange or terrifying way you communicate with each other.
How are you going to communicate with this thing?
Deacon takes a small inkwell and just pours some of his ink into his hand and coats his throat as he's staring at this thing. And the ink is going to sink into his skin and disappear. Can you hear me?
First, you hear no response. But you do hear what sounds like an ancient voice in the back of your head. No one else can hear this but you, Deacon. When you do, you can tell that it's ancient Faireland. You can tell it's old. You really can't make out what it's saying because it's very young. It was just born seconds ago. However, what you do know is that you need to take care of this threat. This ancient Faireland is something that hasn't been spoken since the predated war.
So, Deacon is going to like physically back away from the flower to like try to distract himself and go towards the other body and just say, ancient Faireland, old, very, very old, very old.
As the timer reaches 0, is there anything else anyone else wants to do?
I wanted to get to the body, to the other end of the place. Would I have enough time to run from point A to point B, get to it in time before your timer had ran out?
Yeah, you could. Is that what you decide to do?
Yeah, seeing Deacon coat his throat in ink, be like, that was my favorite pen that I got you. That was a good one. I'm gonna
That was a Uniball.
That was a Uniball. That was that was a Gigantoroga, the pencil. I'm gonna sprint back and just let them do their thing. Be like, you know what? I don't know. They pen and tethered me. Not sure how they did this one. I'm gonna have to figure it out later. And I'm gonna go to the body.
As you guys watch Felix run to the other body, you do start to notice, as the timer runs out, that the little tiny wilt is starting to grow.
In this body?
The one that came out of that body, it is starting to grow.
I would like to crush it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll assist. I'll throw some glassware in there. I'm taking lab supplies and I'm throwing it.
I would say,
I would like to grab it.
if I may, Effie, you are a professor for the college. You know chemicals, you know biology. You come to these investigations well prepared all the time. You've been around the block multiple times. You know that things can burn. They can be broken down. Chemicals can be broken down into its origins. So you carry around many different vials and vases inside of your suitcase. You grab one. It's acid. do decide to throw it.
In close quarters. This officer is most assuredly already passed, but fuck it. Hydrochloric acid.
So you throw it. Go ahead and throw a strike roll. Floor. You watch as Effie pulls out something that she is known to do to bring on these investigations. And you take a couple steps back, noticing that she's about to splash everyone with acid if you're too close. So you assist by pushing everyone back as she tosses this acid. Go ahead and give yourself a d6 to that roll, Effie.
That's a 6.
Perfect. We watch as this thing starts to grow. You can start hearing almost an ancient voice, as if it was choking as it's starting to grow. And the acid is then splashed onto this thing as it grows, and it starts to fizzle and deteriorate, stopping it from growing to an adult.
I have obscure lexicon. Can I see if I caught anything it said before it was dying? I can, when I encounter an ancient or esoteric language, you can spend 1 intuition to understand what it says.
Sure. What you hear from that, and go ahead and spend that. What you hear is alchemist and revenge.
When it said that, was it saying it just in general, or was it by any chance looking at Effie?
Couldn't really make out where it was looking.
So after having backed everyone away, you can see that Flora is incredibly distracted the moment that she realizes she can understand what this thing is saying. Mm-hmm. And as it fizzles away, she says, it just said alchemist and revenge.
You can hear them too?
Just in my travels, I've come across so many languages. That's ancient Faireland.
Yeah, it is. I would actually
Whatever the hell that thing was, it needs to be dead. What are you two talking about?
I would actually like to know what Felix finds at the other body.
I would like to know that too.
Sure. Felix, we go to you. You look at the body, and what you notice is that the same thing can be seen at this scene that was noticed at the other scene. There is a flower protruding from the tongue, and the back of the head has been hit with a blunt force object. You noticed earlier when Officer Jensen swung at Florence, there was some blood on the baton. It can be connected to the two murders here.
Okay. I'm gonna scoop the body up and bring it over to everybody.
Something ancient, Aryan.
Okay.
The Anastasia was an old alchemist. Deacon puts the pieces together. This ancient thing was around when Anastasia was, and the alchemist did something, and it wants its vengeance. It's the only logical explanation, Deacon said to himself. And Deacon just sort of sits down on like a chair nearby just to kind of put that sentence together in his mind.
Actually, Floor is going to try to investigate the Officer Jensen's body.
Okay, perfect. I'm not going to make you roll for that. I'm going to go ahead and give you what you find. As you search Officer Jensen's body, you're able to see in one of her pockets there's a business card from Groundswell Arboretum. The address is located in Groundswell's district.
She holds the card up and offers it towards Effie, kind of grunting a little bit as her side really hurts.
Easy. Stranger, unless this alchemist has some prime real estate, then she's taking us quite the goose chase. Felix, this look familiar to you? Felix?
I'm gonna snag it and I'm gonna look at it. Do I recognize the...
It's a very well-known location in Groundswell. It's an arboretum. It deals with greenery and with plants.
Yeah, no, this is one of those places. One time you sent me out to get you some of those, what do you call it? Herbs. And I couldn't find any, and somebody told me to go to this one place. This is the place.
Yes, the hemp.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's really good for muscles. And you put it inside the aloe vera, and it was very good. I had like an athlete's foot type of shit. Anyways, now's not the time. But yeah, no, we can drive there. We got enough gas. We saved a bunch by going in neutral earlier.
Well, these entities seem to be moving with quite a startling speed. I think we need to hurry.
Floor?
Now, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. The flower in the mouth, does that mean that the thing reached maturity or no?
Christ, I hadn't even considered that.
Like, what's the germination period for these things, you know? Because maybe Jensen was trying to stop this thing from coming into this current world and thwacked him on the head to try to kill it, or
but this juvenile version of it crawled out of her mouth, Jensen's mouth.
Maybe she was already infected and didn't even know it.
But there's no evidence of a flower.
Deacon, as you're writing in your chair, you hear voices in your head. Jensen. Oh, I'm sorry. Deacon. And you open your eyes in front of you. For a couple seconds, you can see little spots on the ground. Seeds that were coughed up by Officer Jensen.
Deacon's can't verbalize, but he'll just point. And where he sees the seeds that are just all over the ground.
I'm gonna take a handkerchief and grab one of them, and kind of just present it into the middle of the group to everybody and be like, well, I think we found out how they're getting from one person to the other. Deacon.
Well, not a spore. These are completely formed angiosperms, a typical flowering plant. Ancient, absolutely ancient, preceding most dinosaurs.
It would likely need wet soil in order to grow.
Wet, moist environment. This one doesn't seem to require sunlight.
There was
So
wet
there's some
soil
other
in the house.
Hey,
In
Deacon.
the apartment.
Soil? In the house?
I'm gonna kind of crouch down to Deacon's level, be like, hey, buddy. Jensen, when they were coughing, because humid, wet, no sunlight, sounds like the inside of a body to me, as I kind of just look you up and down.
No, I didn't receive any.
Okay.
I think whatever it is, it doesn't just present itself after sprouting. I think it's before. I think it's the seed. I think the seed corrupts. I think it might influence the mind before it even sprouts. It's just a theory.
Oh, so this is
story.
No, I mean, this is like just I look over to Effie. ¿Cómo se dice? A parasitic plant kind of takes over the host, right? Kind of like those mushrooms that make the ants go up.
Cordyceps,
So
yes.
Yeah. God, Effie, you're so smart.
Florence. I just give Felix a look. I blink. And turn back to Florence. You said there was soil in the other apartment we were in?
Yes, there was wet mud, but it's not rained in some time. I thought perhaps it could have been a footprint of someone breaking in through a window, but that was not the case, so...
Yeah, and
I have a theory, if you're all willing to hear me out.
Mm-hmm.
I need to perform an autopsy, or at the very least, a body examination. I am going to
Felix
take
is
the
already
cop.
taking an apron out of his luggage.
From the chefs.
We've done this before, yeah.
Before Effie starts, Deacon is going to take his tie and just sort of gesture to her mouth and nose, just in case there's more.
Thank you, Deacon. And I'll give myself some PPE and take my 2 fingers and open up the cop's mouth, looking for signs of soil.
Sure. When you open the cop's mouth, you notice that the inside of her mouth has decayed at such a rapid pace, as if the life was taken from her.
Rapid decay. We watched her quite literally wither away in front of us. I'll arch her head back just a little bit so I can get a view into the esophagus and the start of the digestive system.
As far as you know, the body seems, besides the rapid decay, normal. All organs are still there. The esophagus doesn't look touched. Looks like something implanted inside of this officer towards the back of the throat.
I'm just going to raise a hand up. Scaffold?
Yeah, I already handed you one of my knives.
It is rather dark.
Oh, I'm gonna close the front door, by the way.
Yeah. As we perform our makeshift autopsy. Floor, my dear, would you mind shining a light, the little... I make a winching.
Fleur will... Using her...
A flashlight that you guys carry around all the time.
Our flashlight that we carry around all the time. But she's gonna do that, and then she's going to grab Deacon's forearm and make him hold it real quick, because she's kind of still eyeing the other body and just...
Sure.
She feels like she has not cased what this area is well
Sure.
enough just yet.
Okay. Deacon,
Standing nearby.
are you shining it where?
I'm gonna shine it into the cop's mouth to make it easier for Effie.
Okay. Effie, are you looking at Deacon or the mouth when he does that?
The mouth. I'm getting ready to scrape.
Okay. As the light shines into there, you could see roots bedded into the back of the throat. As he shines the light, the roots singe and dissipate.
Fascinating. Autophobic sensory. It's afraid of light, Deacon. I might need to... And I take Felix's knife and I start to saw into her throat to see if I can get a better view of these roots.
The sound of bone can be heard as they're being sawed into the back of the throat. You hit.
Crack her open like a Christmas turkey.
You hit ligaments and tear them open. No sign of roots. They've gone. Once the light was shined into it, it seemed to burn it off.
I'll just take a finger and like draw it along the viscera, maybe picking up like some ash, some remnants of these roots. Hold it up a little too uncomfortably close to Deacon's face. Not just photophobic, absolutely dreadful in light. Look at that. It's like the old tales of vampires. It withered away. Well, we have a way to fight these things, or at least fight infection. Flora, what are you looking at?
Floor is... because this was coming from... she was dragging the body from a certain area, right?
She was dragging it from the front door to the back. You can see the drag marks onto the floor of the blood stain that was basically being pulled by Officer Jensen towards the back of the kitchen.
Mm-hmm. And this body here has a flower on it?
It does. You can tell that there's nothing really out of norm besides the fact that the flower is embedded into their mouth and tongue.
Hey, well, let's try it on this here. The less of these things, the better, in my opinion. And she waves Deacon to come over with the flashlight.
Something that you do take of note, Flor. It takes a minute for you to realize something. It took 2 bodies for you to realize this. I don't think even your teacher has noticed it. So it's something that triggers, something has been bugging you about the position that these bodies are in. Do you remember something you studied in archaeology called the Rictus Rite? What that is back in the day, to dishonor an enemy, punish criminals, or ensure that someone would not rise in the awakening, they would bury bodies with their mouths forced open, often utilizing a special contraption that held the jaw in place. Historians referred this to a Rictus Rite.
The Rictus Rite. And she... as she's there and she's pulling the flashlight closer so that it can take a look at it, you see this dawning realization on her. And she says the words, Rictus Rite. How did I not see it? And she starts to look to see, was there any other mechanism that was used to do this? Or is it simply the way that they're...
The way that they're positioned, yes.
The way that they're positioned. And she has a moment thinking of it and says to the others, this is truly revenge. This is something done only to the worst of enemies. This is the most dishonorable way to be laid to rest.
The flower in that body is fully bloomed, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Deacon is going to hand the flashlight to Felix and just say, in case it does anything.
I got you. Yeah, I got you, buddy. Don't worry about it.
Deacon's going to approach and sort of kneel down right next to Flor. And he's again going to take more of that ink and apply it. Can you hear me?
No response.
Is it saying anything, Deacon?
No. This one's quiet. Only through its sprouting was it speaking earlier. Perhaps once it's fully bloomed, it's accomplished its goal. It has no need to speak.
What's his goal at that point in time? Because the humiliation is killing the person.
How can I? Anastasia Petrov, she was one of the oldest. These are 2 Petrov brothers. Were there any other siblings in the Petrov family that we know of?
So, that's a great question. At this particular moment in time, you do not know the answers. However, there is the business card that was left in the officer's pocket. Perhaps that is the next place you can get some answers.
Deacon pushes the hair out of his face and he sort of adjusts his tie. We should go quickly. We don't know how much time there'll be before another one sprouts.
Yes, quickly. If those things. Hurry along. Yes.
Yes.
Of course, let's go.
Before we leave really quickly, I want to just glance over. We saw Jensen taking the body towards the back door or towards the kitchen?
Towards the kitchen, at the back of the house.
I just want to poke into the kitchen really quick to see if there was anything that was set up in there that Jensen had.
You can see it rather quickly. Nothing out of the norm. She just dropped the body.
Okay. I wasn't sure if they had a whole, like, Dexter's...
Nope, didn't have enough time. She was interrupted by you guys walking through the door.
Okay. Yeah, I get back in the car and wait for everybody so we can head off to this arborist.
Okay. We're going to go ahead and take a 5-minute break.